In the last 25 Super Bowls, 7 of those losers managed to return back there within 5 years. 3 of those 7 teams who lost managed to come back and win one, but they have won a previous Super Bowl 2 or 3 years prior to their loss. The other 3 teams who managed to return to the Super Bowl after losing the first one managed to win one after their loss without previously winning before that loss. And the final one out of the 7 teams who returned there while losing the first one didn't win. Just going off statistics alone, you got a 28% chance of going back to the Super Bowl within 5 years if you lost the Super Bowl in the first place. But these stats are pretty skewed. 3 of those 7 teams who managed to return to the Super Bowl after losing are the 2007 Patriots, the 2018 Patriots, with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, who previously had 3 Super Bowl wins and 5 Super Bowl wins when they lost. They're a squad with leaders who have already done it in a great system. And the third team is the 2020 Chiefs, who previously won the Super Bowl the year prior they lost it. So they're a squad with Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes. They know how to get it done. They've done it before. It's not their first rodeo. The next team that managed to return is the 2014 Broncos team after getting destroyed by the Seahawks. But they were led by Peyton Manning, a Hall of Fame quarterback who has already won a Super Bowl previously on the Indianapolis Colts. Yes, he was a shell of his former self in 2016, but you understand he's the leader of that team. He's won a Super Bowl before. He knows he can do it, and he can inspire confidence in those guys. That really does matter. And they ended up winning the Super Bowl after 2 years. This leads us to our next team who returned after losing, which is the Los Angeles Rams. They returned to the dance 3 years after. However, this time they had a brand new QB, a healthy Cooper Kupp, and many new veterans like Von Miller and Jalen Ramsey, and a generational Aaron Donald. Then this leads us to the only team who has returned to the Super Bowl within 5 years after losing it in the last 25 years, who has not won it, and that is the San Francisco 49ers. And yet, when they returned 4 years after they lost, they had a brand new QB at the helm, but they would fall again. But this leads us to our final team, the one of 7 teams who returned to the Super Bowl within 5 years after losing the first one. That is the Philadelphia Eagles. They returned 2 years after losing. And they are the only team in the last 25 years to return to the Super Bowl after losing it with the same quarterback and head coach, who have lost the first time and managed to return there and win in the second attempt within 5 years. Now, going off this alone, we're not counting the Chiefs because they were a team that already done it before. Or the Patriots, they're a team that has already done it before. The Rams, yes, they had lost the first time, but again, they had a brand new quarterback at the helm. That's a completely different story. So, if you're a team with the same quarterback and the same head coach, the percentage that you return within 5 years after losing the first Super Bowl is 5%. That is a very, very rare and low number to go off to. Now, why am I saying this? Well, we have known that the New England Patriots have lost the Super Bowl, and they had a young QB, Drake May, there. Played a pretty bad game, but 23 years old, it happens. And they have a very good coach in Mike Vrabel. And I've seen a lot of discourse, obviously, the mentions of the easy schedule, which they did have an easy schedule. There's no denying that. But it's like they're young, they'll be back, it makes sense. Now, that's where I come in and ruin the parade for all you Patriots fans, saying it's going to be fine, you know, just 1 year. Got the Super Bowl after sucking last year. We're going to be back in no time, right? Wrong. You got to understand this. The Eagles are the only team I mentioned to lose and come back from this within 5 years. But why is that? Why is the Eagles, of all the teams, managed to complete this feat and managed to do this? Well, I'll tell you right now, a reason why is not because of superstar quarterback play. If a team that goes to the Super Bowl mainly because of a superstar quarterback and they lose, the chances they go back within 5 years and win, I'm pretty sure, is 0. What I'm saying is, when teams fully rely on the quarterback for their chances, and this could go for a lot of teams, the Packers in 2010, they had their heavily reliant on Aaron Rodgers, but they won. Again, though, Aaron Rodgers has never been back to a Super Bowl in his entire career. And this brings me to a guy like Joe Burrow. The Bengals, on the offensive side, heavily relied on Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow and T. Higgins to constantly make plays. And they made the Super Bowl in his second year with a bad head coach, a bad O-line, and a pretty solid defense. I'll give them that. And guess what? They're not even close to being in contention for winning the division. Heck, maybe not in the playoffs, because they relied on superstar factor. So that brings my point. How could a team like the Niners and the Eagles return after losing? It's because, first of all, they have great systems. Kyle Shanahan, regardless of what you think about him, I think he's somewhat of a choke artist, but you can't deny that he runs a great system that can work for a lot of QBs, and that has been proven with Mac Jones being there, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Brock Purdy. Obviously, I think we can all agree that Brock Purdy is the best of those three, but it's been proven that if you're an average quarterback, he can take you to the Super Bowl. Can he win it? No, but he can get you there because the system works, and they don't rely on superstar quarterback play. Same with the Eagles. I like Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. Did they make the Super Bowl in 2023 mainly because of Jalen Hurts? No, they didn't. Was he a good reason? Yes. Now in 2025, did they make the Super Bowl again because of Jalen Hurts? No. They got there even less with Jalen Hurts. He wasn't even the main focus of the offense. That was Saquon Barkley. Two teams who managed to return after losing, mainly because they had a good system. They relied not on the quarterback, but the players around the quarterback, the O-line, the receivers, the tight ends, the running backs, and they made it back there. And of course, we can't mention the Patriots and the Chiefs because they're teams that have previously won it. It's a completely different story. You go there, you win it, you have a different mindset of that. It's different. You have a superstar quarterback who's already won it, and then he goes back the next year and loses it. His confidence is still high as hell. He's been there. He's won it. Just because he lost doesn't mean his confidence is gone. The guys like Brady, Mahomes, Peyton Manning prove this thoroughly. The confidence does not get shot, and it can still bring your team up. But this brings me to a team that is looking like it's going down this path, and that is the New England Patriots. Now, I want to first off saying that this team is very much different from the Cincinnati Bengals team. Mike Vrabel is a good coach. He's legitimately been proven to be a good coach. Zach Taylor is a fraud. He's a dumb fraud. Maybe he's not a dumb fraud. He's a fraud, though. He shouldn't be coaching in the NFL. I don't know how he's been coached this long. Joe Burrow needs to speak up for himself and say this guy sucks, all right? Joe Burrow's too nice of a guy. He's never going to say it, but Joe Burrow needs to say, Zach Taylor, get the hell out of my team. Go. Someone needs to tell him to stop being so nice. That was a tangent. Mike Vrabel has consistently done one thing well in his career. That is make defenses good and good run stop. And he's done that well. He did a great job in Tennessee before getting fired because, should have been fired. In New England, he's done a good job with the defense. Mike Vrabel has done a very good job with defenses as a head coach. He's not done the best job with offenses. He's not an offensive mind. He's a defensive mind guy. But his offensive personality brings in is a little questionable, Josh McDaniels is a very controversial coach, to say the least, in the NFL world because he's had great success as an OC and not so great success as a head coach. And now he's back as the OC of the Patriots, and you're like, was he a reason why the offense was good, or was it because Drake May was just really good? I don't know. What I think mostly is because Drake May is really good. That's just me. But what the Patriots rely on is what I've mentioned before, is great quarterback play. And I know, obviously, myself included, Drake May, I would say by the end of the year into the playoffs, was getting a lot of hate because he may have won MVP when he didn't deserve it. You understand, Drake May was a top 5 quarterback this year. Regardless of what you think, his play, his stats, he was a top 5 quarterback this year. He's one of the best quarterbacks this year with a pretty bad O-line. Now, did he play the best in the playoffs? No. However, that doesn't take away his accomplishments he did in the season. Although, I think in that Houston game, I think he played pretty good. Although he had 3 turnovers, but, Houston defense, best defense in the league. He threw 3 touchdowns on them. That's pretty damn good. With that one on Derek Stingley, amazing. Can't teach that stuff. Now, the only way I think the Patriots can be saved and actually go back to the dance and win is not their defense. Their defense can be fine. Christian Gonzalez, Robert Spillane, Harold Landry, Milton Williams. They got guys. And Mike Vrabel can coach. He can coach guys in the draft. Their defense is going to be freaking fine. The O-line and the receivers don't look too promising. Now, they could obviously sign some guys in the offseason, draft some guys. But what I've learned from this Patriots team is that they were heavily reliant on a young quarterback on their offensive side. And even said by one of the Seattle players is that Drake May was their entire offense. Trayvon Henderson's a great talent. He's a rookie, though. That's kind of the only guy you got to worry about on that offense besides Drake May. But they said if they can rattle Drake May, they're going to win. That sounds like a team in Buffalo with Josh Allen. You stop Josh Allen, you're going to beat them. You stop Joe Burrow, you're going to beat the Bengals. But a team like the Patriots, even the Chiefs, as great as Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes are, if you stop them, their team is still good enough to win. Bill Belichick developed a great defense for many years. Steve Spagnuolo on the Chiefs, always a great defense. Andy Reid can still scheme up stuff if Patrick Mahomes is struggling. It's stuff like this that kept these teams winning and is a big part why the greatest quarterbacks are obviously the greatest, because they have great personnel with them. Drake May, offensively, don't think he has the greatest personnel. And I know what you're thinking. This could change, But here's my issue. They're not going to fire Josh McDaniels. He's staying there for at least 1 or 2 more seasons. And then after that, he gets fired. Then you got to find a new OC to take charge. And you got to make sure that he does not get Drake May killed. It's really, really tough to do. And that is why teams relying on great quarterback play without the greatest personnel tend to never win the Super Bowl. Think of teams that have gone back after losing the first one with great quarterback play. Okay? Dan Marino never went back. John Elway went back. He lost. He went back again. He lost. And then he went back again much, much later with brand new players. He was at the end of his career, and he's very, very fortunate to have those players. Not saying he wasn't effective. He definitely was effective. He's a Hall of Famer for a reason. And you could say Jim Kelly. No offense, Jim Kelly. I never watched him, but I don't think the Bills were heavily reliant on Jim Kelly's play to go to these Super Bowls. I think they had a better system than most. What I'm trying to say is, this is probably not the hottest take, but I am very, very confident that the Patriots are not going back to the Super Bowl within the next 5 years. And I don't think they're even going to be close to going back to the Super Bowl in the next 5 years. I think the closest they get is a divisional round game. Until they get rid and fix their offensive personnel, I don't think this team is going back to the Super Bowl. Again, I think Mike Vrabel's a good coach. I think Mike Vrabel's going to keep this team competitive for years. Maybe they'll have a down year next year, but I think Mike Vrabel is going to keep them in the playoff hunt for the next 5 years. But until they get a guy on the O-line and a GM who can fix the receiving core and not get Drake May murdered, they're not going back. Because again, Drake May is good enough to win the Super Bowl. He just is. I'm not even saying as a fact. It's not like I think he's better than Sam Darnold and Jalen Hurts. No offense, Jalen Hurts. I like him. But I think he's better than both those guys. I just think they have better personnel. He's good enough. It just depends if the team around him is good enough. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, it is most of the time hard to get to the Super Bowl after losing it. And the key takeaway here is, if you get there off of supreme quarterback play, you better pray and hope to God you win that Super Bowl. Because if you don't, you are screwed. You are 100% screwed. If you get there off a good system, you're less screwed. Still probably screwed, but you have a better chance of getting back there. But that's how I see things. Please tell me how wrong this take is, and I'll be back next year when the New England Patriots come back and win the Super Bowl against the Philadelphia Eagles 60-0 and look like a complete fool. But until then, enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good time. Goodbye.